Andy here with Sentinel Defense. I'm here in the man cave again, and today we're going to be talking about how to how to time a muzzle device for an AR-15. One of the things that you need to do with your gear is constantly evaluate and reevaluate your setup. That's going to be a topic of another video, and it's going to be coming up here pretty soon. I'm hoping to knock that thing out next week when I get a chance. But through my own testing, I recently went to an EAG Tactical Carbine 2 course where I shot this particular rifle. It's an 11.5-inch Daniel Defense barrel with a Battle Comp 1.0 comp on the end of it. I've shot several rifles at night, various barrel lengths, various muzzle devices, and I have not shot this one in low light before. And when I was shooting at night with this particular device using 5.56 grade, using actual 5.56 ammunition, and specifically the Federal XM193, this was creating an amazing ball of light at the end of the muzzle. So much so that I could only get off about 2 shots consecutively before I was no longer able to really see the target. It was just a big wall of white light. So I did some evaluating on the rifle and determined that I need to change my muzzle device and go to a flash suppressor and away from a comp. Now I want to preface this by saying that in no way do I think the Battle Comp is a bad piece of kit. I run one on my 16-inch. I have a couple 16-inches that I run it on, and I find it to be a phenomenal comp. And the comp that's coming off of it is going to be going on another rifle build that I have coming up. It's going to be a DMR build, but for this particular setup I need to go with a flash suppressor. So what we're going to do is I'll show you the flash suppressor we're going with, and then I'll show you how to take it apart, take this apart, do your inspection, and then put on a new one. Okay, so here we are with the option that I chose. What I did is I looked at a bunch of different suppressor options, or flash suppressor options, to try and figure out what I wanted to use. I have a lot of the, the basic stuff like the A2 flash hiders sitting around. I don't believe the A2 flash suppressor works really well. It does a decent job at flash suppressing, but that's about it. It's a cheap end piece. It doesn't reduce muzzle climb very well. There's really no advantage in me putting on one of those, aside from the fact that it was just a way to save money. So what I did is I started looking into things, and I determined that what I need to do is just go with the standard flash hider, and I don't need to spend a bunch of extra money on a mountable flash hider. Mountable flash hiders are flash hiders that have quick attachment options or compatibility options with sound suppressors that are on the market. I live in Minnesota, and it is illegal for me as a private citizen to own a sound suppressor, so that's really a non-issue for me. As a police officer, we can use suppressors, but I need to have a suppressor that's owned by my agency, and my rifle is not owned by my agency, and my rifle is not used by my agency, well, this particular rifle anyways, so there was no reason for me to actually get a mountable flash hider. The positive side of that is that non-mount flash hiders are about half the price of a mountable flash hider. As you can see, this is the PWS Triad 5.56. Primary Weapon Systems developed this in-house and came out with, I think, a pretty good option. It does a very good job at reducing muzzle flash, and it's also supposed to do a very good job at reducing muzzle climb and keeping the rifle to shooting in a linear fashion. As you can see, the way it's supposed to be timed, right here it has this little circle up on the top here. This is your PWS logo, and that's going to help you see where it's supposed to be properly timed. If you look inside of the muzzle device, I'll illuminate it here, you can see that it's almost in a vortex style. So what it's going to do is it's going to help with that flash, and it's going to work rotationally with the bullet as it comes out. If you look at the back of it, you can see that it's recessed right here, and it comes out. There is absolutely no throttling or cut down of the amount of space for gas. Basically, once a gas leaves the muzzle of the rifle, it's going to be allowed to expand outward. Inside of the kit, also, you have directions on the back of it that'll just give you a couple of options right here, or basically just kind of explain some stuff. Obviously, there's the stuff ensuring the weapon is not loaded, amount of rotation needed, alignment, so forth. Those are your directions. We have it also lists stuff on the back right here. Tells you what's in this shim set. This doesn't time using a crush washer. It needs, the way that it's designed, it needs to use shims. And what it does, and what Primary Weapon Systems did, is they included shims with you. So you have this handy dandy little kit. As you can see, we have 1 shim, 2 shim, 3 shims, and these are all of different thicknesses. The thick shims right here, you shim 1, shim 2, and shim 3. Shim 1 is very thick, and shim 3 is very, very thin. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the old muzzle device and we'll slap this baby on. Okay, as you can see, we have the rifle upper already secured inside of the device. I've already pre-loosened the battle comp off of the rifle here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew it here. I should preface this by saying that I've got about 4,000 rounds through this rifle without, or since it's last being cleaned. And as you can see, this battle comp is pretty dirty. It's pretty well worn. You can see that it's pretty well discolored and pretty ugly. You take a look at the end of the barrel. Zoom in on it here. You can see it's pretty nasty looking. So there's the end of the barrel. You can see all this stuff right here on the end. All that. That's all this right here is all carbon buildup. You can see it's in these little hills on top there is really all you can really call it. Now if you doubt that there's about 4,000 rounds through this rifle, I can certainly back that up, because here is the bolt from the rifle here, and you can see it's just absolutely filthy. And of course here is my firing pin. So, but you know, don't have any problems, because here again we got a little slip 2000, makes everything run very smooth. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take this and I got to clean all this crud off the end of it before I put something else on it. So we'll take off the crush washer and discard this. Once you use a crush washer, toss it. These are disposable items. Don't use them again. Send it out. These things are less than $1 a pop. One of the cool things about having a flexibly rotating vise is the ability to actually turn and cant the rifle as you need to work on it. As you can see right here, I have the tip of the muzzle sunk into this container right here with this delicious green liquid. What I'll do is I'll zoom in here, and you can already see that there is a significant amount of crud coming off of that end of that barrel. Now, the stuff that I'm using, this is a Slip 2000 carbon killer. This stuff just eats carbon. It does just a fantastic job. And as you can see right in here, all this is all carbon. All this stuff coming out of here, that's all carbon coming off of the threads. And what I'll do is I'll leave this soaking in the Slip 2000 carbon killer for probably about a half hour. 15 to 20 minutes is good for light cake stuff, but for stuff that's really caked on, I mean, half hour to an hour is sometimes what's needed to really let that stuff come off. Okay, so we've had this in the carbon killer for about 35 minutes now. About halfway through, I took it out and scrubbed the end off of it to start knocking off the larger chunks of carbon. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of clean up the threads and clean the whole thing up a little bit, and then we'll get to mounting the flash hider. So I got my Scotch-Brite right here. This Scotch-Brite, it actually works extremely well for cleaning quite a few things on ARs. So just a little bit of a cheater tool here for us armorers. So that should be good to go. The way that we time the muzzle brake or the muzzle device is by screwing it on and determining where it needs to be, and then backing it off or moving it in, and determining how much of a distance we need to have between the end of the main portion of the barrel, which is right here, and then the inside of the device, which is going to be right in here, right off of the threads. So what you do is you basically start by screwing it in all the way with nothing on it. This will get really tedious, by the way. Now the PWS logo is right here at about the, if you're looking at the rifle from this direction, this is always 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, comes up here 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. We're up here about 10:30 right now with this position. So what that means is we have to back it off to a position right about here, because the difference between hand tight and your 25 to 30 foot-pounds of wrench tightness is going to be about 20 to 30 degrees according to PWS. So you have to figure out where you want to be. So we're already past that, so we need to back it off. So we can back it off with shims. We can use a couple, or we could back it out even more. Now, the cool thing is that PWS went and actually gave you instructions on here. As you can see right on there, there's instructions that explain what each shim does. And if you look right here, it says a large shim can be used to give the installer 1/2 rotation. Shim 2, which there's 8 of, can give you 45 degrees of rotation. And then shim 3 is just a smaller degree. So for every 45 degrees we have right here, so if we're right here, so we would need 45, 90, I would say we'd probably need three small shims. So what we'll do is we'll keep on going through a trial and error process and figuring out where it's at. So I'm using the shim 1, which is the biggest shim, and then I'm using 2 of the shim 2s, which are the medium ones. So we'll slap it on there and spin it on down, and you can see it's right about where we want to be, right there. So with the amount of rotation we have left, zoom out here, and we'll attach our torque driver here, and we'll torque around down. So we get it in there. There's a good click. And we're right about there. I mean, we're just slightly under rotated at torque. So, I mean, there's really no harm in just giving it just a little bit extra. So, yep, and we are right about there. So that's what we're going to do, and voila, we now have a properly timed muzzle device. As you can see, the PWS logo right up there at the top. You can kind of see it right there. You can see the logo up on the top of there, which indicates right at the 12 o'clock position that that is properly timed according to the instructions that they gave us. As you can see, we have the muzzle device fully installed right here. You can get a general profile of it. Okay, so now I've demonstrated how to properly time a muzzle device using shim sets. Obviously with a crush washer it's a lot easier because you can basically just wrench down on that thing till you're happy. You can't do that with shims. You have to do a lot of guess and check. You have to do a lot of trial and error. But once you get it, what you have is you have a muzzle device that's going to operate optimally based on how the manufacturer wants it to run. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask below. Until next time, keep it around in the chamber.